Hey, everybody, and welcome to the 26th episode of Brent Ewing's Hey Buddy podcast. On this week's episode, my co host Bub Dunn and I we're going to discuss the final weekend of the college football season, including all the New Year's Six games. We're going to touch on the college football Final Four. We're going to touch on some Michigan coaching rumors, as well as some Michigan basketball. Obviously, the big game coming up this Monday night. We're going to have Alabama and Ohio State playing for the national title. Two great teams. The two best teams are in there. Should be a fun game. Great offenses. Defense is a little suspect at times, so we should see a lot of points. It's going to be fun. With that being said, let's go ahead and hop into this week's episode.
All right, dude. Let's hop into these bowl games, man. Obviously there's one left, and we'll talk about that at the end. But just hopping in, going through the few Big Ten games that there were. Not very many. The Indiana game, they came out playing Ole Miss, and that kind of went the way that I thought it would. To be honest with you, I picked Ole Miss to win with Penix being out. I didn't get to watch any of that game. I don't know if you saw any of that
either. I did not, but I saw the score, and it was actually a lot closer than I really thought it would be with Penix being out.
Yeah, that was the Outback Bowl again. Ole Miss ended up winning 26-20. Just it looked like it looked like everything favored Indiana. Man, they held the ball for 10 more minutes than Ole Miss did, but just couldn't get it done. Matt Carroll, the quarterback for Ole Miss, put up a heck of a day. 30 for 44, 342 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jack Tuttle came in for Indiana. He was respectable. 26 for 45, 201. 1 pick. Stevie Scott ran the ball decently, 19 carries, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns. But the kicker for me was Walt Philyor. Obviously, we heard that name all year in the Big Ten. Walt Philyor had a great season. Check out these numbers. The kid had 18 catches for 81 yards. Have you ever heard of
a that's like 4 yards a catch.
Have you ever heard of a stat line for a wide receiver like that?
No. I mean, you would expect 4 yards a carry maybe for a running back, but not 4 yards a catch. I don't think I've ever heard that before.
I looked that up. When I was going through some of the stats, I looked it up, and I had to confirm it. I had to go to a different website. I'm like, wait a minute, that's got to be a misprint. I've never heard 18 catches for 81 yards ever. Like, how's that even possible?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, was he running just continuous 4 yard and outs? I mean,
I'm thinking it must have been Rich Rod offense, man, when they just ran sideline to sideline instead of up and down the field.
Don't even remind me of that.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Like I said,
that's a wicked stat. That's different for sure.
Absolutely. Ty Freifogel, he was pretty much non-existent. 3 catches, 34 yards. That kid, I think, is going to be a stud at the next level.
I expect. Sure. And I'm surprised that he had that. I mean, I would have expected a lot from him, especially considering the earlier games from the season when he was put up ridiculous, like video game numbers.
Absolutely. Maybe he just had that. Him and Penix had that connection, and Tuttle coming in, they kind of, I think every receiver every quarterback has their favorite receiver that they're going to go to, and maybe,
sure.
Obviously Walt was Tuttle's favorite target on the day.
Yeah, because you get comfortable with a certain guy, and it's kind of like your safety blanket. If something's going on, you can go to him, and they'll make that catch.
Right, and I think out of those two, I think out of Philyor and Freifogel, I think Freifogel's going to have the better pro career. I think he's just that little bit bigger body. But man, they're both tough, and it was fun to watch them this year. I didn't get to see, a lot of Indiana. Obviously, watched them play Michigan, watched them play much of that Penn State game, and maybe one other game. But man, those two put up some numbers. The big controversy, I guess, the big thing everybody was talking about before that game was Indiana removing the Big Ten logo and replacing it with the Outback Bowl logo on their jerseys, and then replacing the Big Ten logo on their helmets and putting the LEO sticker on the helmets, which stood for Love Each Other, right? And I know they talked to the head coach after the game, and he's like, look, it's nothing against the Big Ten. He's like, we're proud to be members of the Big Ten. It wasn't meant to be any disrespect, but a lot of people.
If you're proud to be Big Ten members, why take it off?
Right, right. I think there was something to it. Obviously, people are going to the fact of, well, we played the number of games that we should have. We should have been in the Big Ten title game. We should have possibly been a chance for one of the college playoff, Final Four spots. But yeah, didn't happen. And Indiana losing to Ole Miss 26-20. Indiana hasn't won a bowl game since I think 1991, the Copper Bowl. So just a huge.
Has it really been that long?
1991, yeah, man. It's
wow.
I think
I did not realize that.
Right, I think they're on the upswing. I think Tom Allen will get them doing good things, but I think they're still going to be that. They're going to be that team that finishes with at least 2 to 3 losses. I don't see them competing as far as a big time New Year's Six bowl or anything like that in the future. But I don't know, man.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Good season for him.
I don't know. Is Penix? What's Penix? Is he back next year, or is he?
Yeah, he'll be back.
So I mean, that's a good start. I mean, obviously a decent season, and had he been healthy the whole entire season, he may have had a different outcome. But that's something for them to grow on for next season.
Absolutely, he's only a sophomore, so he'll.
Really?
He'll probably be back. I don't see him as one of those guys who is necessarily going to come out and turn pro and do a lot there early. So I see him coming back and playing his entire 4 years there at Indiana. So that'll be fun. If you're an Indiana fan, even if you're not an Indiana fan, heck, that's a fun team to watch. Nick Sheridan calling plays there. Kudos to Nick Sheridan, man.
I agree. Who would have thought we would be saying kudos to Nick Sheridan? Considering
isn't that crazy?
What went on back in the Rich Rod days? That's just.
The guy was a Division I quarterback, so obviously he had some talent. Should have never been a starter, but like they say, man, those who can do and those who can't teach. So maybe he's one of those guys who not necessarily can get in there and do it, but he can teach it and he can throw out a heck of an offense. Obviously, Mike Hart as well as the running backs coach. So it's kind of good to see those ties to Michigan there and those guys doing well.
I agree. Next thing you know, Stephen 3 will be surfacing as a coach.
Stephen 3, man. I mean, what's the one play you think of when you think of 3?
I don't think of anything. I try not to. It makes my head hurt.
The huge run against Wisconsin. This kid's
I do remember that.
He's not known to have a motor, but man, he broke that long run. I can't remember. It was like 50 or 60 yards, and that was a fun play. Good, nice fake out there. But anyway, that was the Outback Bowl. Moving on to the Citrus Bowl, you had Northwestern Auburn. I was surprised at this one. I honestly thought Auburn would win. But man, Northwestern, they just know how to play. Fitzgerald takes that. He's kind of like Matt Campbell there with Iowa State. Takes that lower ranked talent, lower rated talent, and coaches them up. Man, Northwestern goes in and beats Auburn 35-19. Ends the season at 7-2. Auburn ends the season at 6-5. Again, they didn't do it on the backs of any offense, because offensively they don't put up numbers. But man, defensively they play really well. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you're good. Keep going.
A surprise to me was Peyton Ramsey in that game. 24 for 35, 291, and 3 touchdowns. Great, just a great game for him. Good to see, because again, the kid transfers over from Indiana, and he was just steady all year. He wasn't spectacular, but I think he saved his best game for the bowl game. And again, kudos to Northwestern, man. They held the ball for about 10 more minutes than Auburn did. Not much else to say about Northwestern. Just very surprised. I always look at them as kind of a middle of the pack type of team, but in this crazy season, man, Fitzgerald again coached them up, and I don't know what his future holds. I don't know if you've been hearing rumors that he's open to listening to NFL offers. I just see him. I see him as a college coach, man. I think it suits him better. I think he knows how to get to these kids. I would like to see him have a chance at maybe a bigger tier program. You know what I mean? I don't know if that would suit him, or if he's kind of made for this 3-star mentality, tough, gritty, nose to the grindstone type of guy he is. Maybe he's happy there in Evanston, and heck, maybe he'll be their coach for the next 20 years.
Right. Anything's possible there. With the success that he's had, I mean, obviously he's not going to win. He hasn't won a Big Ten championship. I don't know if he will, but he always has, a decent season. We've talked a lot about Northwestern. They're your second favorite team. I really like their team. I always have. He does a really good job we've talked about the academic things that it's a higher, when you're talking about Northwestern, it's a higher academic standard that they have compared to the rest of the Big Ten. So it's harder to find those kids who have that academic standard to meet that and be able to play on the field itself. So kudos to those kids who can do it. I was very surprised with Northwestern. I honestly thought that Auburn would win. I was pretty surprised, but I do like Fitzgerald as a coach. To me, I think he will be. I really think he would be happy staying there for as long as they'll let him stay there. The big thing is, a lot of coaches really enjoy the coaching aspect in general, but they really enjoy the coaching aspect of a institution that they have went to and played at and then come back to. You know what I mean? It pulls at your heartstrings when you're at that place in your life and in your coaching career, when you can coach your alma mater, the team that you played for, and to try to get them to do better, year in and year out. And I think he does a good job at that.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Another cool thing about that game was Northwestern's defensive coordinator, Mike Hankwitz. I don't know if you saw that or not, but the guy's been coaching ball for, I think, 51 seasons. And with that win, it gave him his 400th career win. So how cool is that to kind of go out, 400 career wins?
I did not see that, but yeah, that's pretty cool.
They were interviewing Fitzgerald after the game, and he said a few things, but then he's like, look, I'm throwing it over to this guy right here. Let's let him have his time. And they let him talk, and they give him the ball after the game, which was pretty cool. Just a cool moment. I mean, dude, 51 years.
That's a classy move for Fitzgerald right there. And I mean, to me, he's a classy coach. He really is. Sure. You can't say anything bad about him at all.
Absolutely. The only other game we had with the Big Ten, Iowa, Missouri, I don't even remember the bowl game they were in, to be honest with you, but obviously that game got canceled. Yeah, I know, right? It's weird, man. I like watching Iowa play at times. Just that bruiser football. It's kind of like a more fun, to me. It's a more fun version of Wisconsin. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just they're so similar. But it always seems like Iowa has.
They are very similar. Like the big thing to me is Wisconsin is hey, we're going to run the ball and we're going to run the ball. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to run the ball some more, and occasionally we'll throw in a pass, and then we're going to continue to run the ball. Where Iowa is like, we're going to run the ball, then pass, run the ball, pass, run the ball, and then when you're not expecting it, we're going to pass, and then we're going to run the ball some more. It's just a little variation there, but not much. But yeah, Iowa can be a fun team to watch. They always have good defense, and they're just, what you're going to get with them. Mm-hmm. They're going to run the ball. They're going to pass a little bit. And Ferentz has been there for what? Since 1940, I think.
I think he was there when Truman was in office.
Yeah, he's been there a long time.
I believe so.
So for a coach to be there for that long, he's obviously doing something right. He may not be, winning titles, but he's doing something correct in the program, or they wouldn't still have him there.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's been a solid coach. Think what you want about him, but he's been solid. He always has. They started off 0-2 this year, but then they put on that 5 or 6 game win streak. Man, they ended up playing well.
Oh yeah, they did.
I would have liked to see Michigan play him, just because I think it would have been a loss, obviously. But
I agree. But still, I'd rather see Michigan lose than not play at all. I hate to lose at all, but I'd much rather see them on the field, no matter what.
The games against Iowa are always typically hard-fought games.
They are.
Especially when we go to Iowa, man. It's typically a night game, and daggone if they don't, beat us by. I know a couple years back they put a thrashing on us, but typically it's pretty close. It's within 7 or so, and
yeah.
If we're having,
it's always that hard-fought win in the trenches,
mm-hmm.
Running game type of a. It's just the way it always is.
Absolutely. I did skip one, man. Wisconsin did play. Wake Forest in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Yeah, man, what an ugly. Wisconsin won 42-28. Wisconsin had 266 total yards of offense. They put up 42 points. 266 total yards of offense. Wake Forest put up 518 total yards of offense and gets beat by 2 touchdowns. However, the quarterback for Wake Forest threw for 4 picks. He ended up having a pretty big game. I think he threw 3 TDs, over 300 yards, but throws for 4 picks, man. Just looked like an ugly game. I didn't watch any of that one either.
Neither.
Not so I don't really have a whole lot to say about that. Wisconsin finishes the year 4-3, Wake 4-5. Let's get on to obviously the bigger games, and one I was super disappointed in, the Cotton Bowl, Florida, Oklahoma. Ended up just being a shellacking. Oklahoma beats Florida 55-20. What really upset me about that game, man, is I really liked watching Trask play this year.
But they had he was down four receivers, and I mean there was nothing around him. He played, and there was nobody else.
That's what frustrated me, man. He comes in and his 4 top receivers set out the game.
That's tough. I don't care who you are.
This opting out stuff, I don't know who started it, man, but it's ruining the bowl season. Unless you're in the top 4, the final 4, you got people opting out of every game. To me, dude, you're quitting on your team, man. And I know I said this last week, but if you're Trask, it's like, guys, so I got to come out here. I think they said they were playing with like 64 scholarship guys. So they're playing with walk-ons. They're playing with kids who, practice squad type guys who had never played before. And it showed. Trask, he threw 3 picks early, which, I mean, you don't have the timing with these guys. You don't have the reps with these guys. You got to try to make something happen. So you're forcing balls. A couple of them were just ugly, and at least one totally his fault. But my goodness.
Two of them were bad, and one was a tipped pass that was caught for an interception. But I completely agree with you. I don't like the idea of people sitting out. I really can understand it from the kid's perspective. If you're going to be like one, a maybe top 2, 3 pick, but even in their eyes, maybe if they're saying, "Hey, I'm going to get drafted," that I'm going to sit out because I don't want to risk getting injured and losing my draft place. But just like you said, you're quitting on your team. I mean, you play the whole entire season. You play 12, 13 games on a normal season, obviously not this year, but 12, 13 games in a regular season. But then you're going to sit out the last game when you have a chance to have your team win a bowl game. I don't agree with it.
Just all about money, man. And I get it. I get you want to prepare for your future and you want to be able to make that money, but you made a commitment to not only that program, you made a commitment to your teammates, to your coaches, and you're basically just quitting on it. And I know a lot of people have a different, oh, look, he got hurt. Well, for every one guy that gets hurt, maybe 10 guys could improve their draft stock. Or maybe a couple guys who weren't going to get drafted have just a heck of a game, catches somebody's eye, and you're like, holy crap, look at this guy here. I mean, I don't like it. I don't remember when it started. I know Christian McCaffrey did that a few years.
It's been a few. It's been a good 5 or 6 years, I think, at least. I remember the one person, first person like saying I'm not playing in the bowl game because of this, and the whole, I need to prepare for the draft. What do you got to prepare for, dude? You can't take 3.5 hours to play a game. What's there to prepare for? You've been preparing for the last however many years you've been in college.
That's it, man. It's just a money thing. It's just all about
it's all about the not getting injured and the draft pick. Where you're going to go at in the draft. That's all it is.
And with the Florida game again, I'm turning on to watch Trask. I loved watching him this year, and he sat a lot, man. They brought in Emory Jones. He ended up being 8 for 16 for 86 yards, 10 carries, 60 yards. I know they wanted to get him in and get him some reps as well, but man, it's just I was very disappointed. That game was over before it even began. Spencer Rattler for Oklahoma, 14 for 23, 247, 3 touchdowns. Oklahoma ran the heck out of the ball. They had 2 guys over 100 yards. Ramondre Stevenson, 18 carries, 186 yards, a touchdown. Marcus Major, 9 carries, 110 yards, a touchdown. Oklahoma averaged 10.52 yards per play, which was the most ever in a bowl game versus a Power 5 conference. 10.52 yards.
That's impressive. I mean...
Isn't that nuts?
You only need 3.3 essentially to continue to get first downs. But I mean, 10.10 yards a freaking play.
10.52 yards per play.
That's
totally,
insane.
totally crazy. But
that's nuts. I remember I turned that game on and I can't remember what was going on. I know I fell asleep because I was watching the game and it was like, Florida, they were down. They were throwing this picks and it was down. Then they come back. They were down like what 17-0, I think, and they came back to like 14-17 maybe. And I was like, all right, man, they're gonna make this a game. So I was sitting laying in bed watching it, and I was like, all right, this is gonna be a game. And I fell asleep.
Yeah.
And then I woke up the next morning and it was 50 something to 20, and I'm like, they scored 3 points after I fell asleep.
It was ugly.
I was like,
and
wow.
I'll tell you what, I would put Oklahoma up against anybody right now. I'm not saying they would win, but I think they would. You put Oklahoma Notre Dame head to head, I think Oklahoma wins. Put Oklahoma Clemson head to head, I think 10 times Oklahoma wins 4 or 5. I think they compete with Ohio State. I think they compete with Alabama. Do they beat them? I don't know, but man, they're fun to watch. That offense is fun to watch. High octane.
I agree.
But
it all boils down to what we've talked about the whole time. Just make the playoff 8 teams.
Yeah.
Make it 8 teams and throw an extra weekend, and everyone will freaking be happy.
Yeah, it's going to happen at some point. But moving on to the Peach Bowl, man. Cincinnati finally, I'm sure they felt slighted being 9-0, heading to the Peach Bowl, playing an 7-2 Georgia team. And I don't know if you watched. Did you get to watch that game?
I watched a good bit of it, and I saw the ending of it. As far as being slighted, I'm not trying to take anything away from Cincinnati because obviously they're 9-0. Fickle's done a heck of a job up there with the program. But again, you got to look at who did you play? You're Cincinnati. Who in the world did you play?
Oh yeah,
that would warrant you being in a national championship game or in the playoffs in general.
Sure.
I'm not saying they didn't have a great season. I'm not saying it's not a good coach or a good team. I'm simply saying look at strength of schedule and who you played.
Absolutely.
So do I think I think they're right there with a 7-2 SEC team with a 9-0 with the AAC, I think is what they're in now. But they matched up very well together. I mean, to come down to a missed field goal.
Georgia hit the field goal.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Georgia, yeah, he hit the field goal.
Yeah.
But still, to within a field goal to win the game, that's a heck of an accomplishment. To go 9-0 and almost win a bowl game on the the brink of the other team hitting a field goal to win it. That's you can't. And really, there was some clock management issues there at the end of the game.
Yep.
So you very well had a chance. And if I remember right, and I say this all the time, Cincinnati had the ball with maybe 2 minutes roughly.
Mm-hmm.
That whole I'm going to run the ball 3 times in a row up the middle to try to run out the clock. I mean, seriously, how many times have we seen that at Michigan? Just completely 99% of the time that blows up in your face.
Absolutely, it did, man.
I absolutely hate that. I can't stand it. There's no reason for you to not try to run your offense like normal, try to run outside, or even, fake the handoff because that's what they're expecting. They're going to expect you to go right up the middle and just try to run the clock. Do a bootleg. Do something different to run the clock and get that first down because that's all you need is one first down. And the game is over. And I absolutely hate when teams play like that. And you see what happens, right? I mean, obviously, right there in the bowl game, they lost it because of that.
Yeah, man. Like I was saying, I don't feel that Cincinnati was slighted. I think they were probably ranked where they should have been. Again, 9-0, but you got to look at like you said, the competition they played, and to be able to hang with the Georgia team that is constantly in the top 5 as far as recruiting. And Kirby Smart's a good coach, man. They have all this talent. Cincinnati was actually leading 21-10 going into the fourth quarter, so it was their game, man. But like you said, they got too conservative. The whole second half, Cincinnati looked absolutely lost. The quarterback, man, they were throwing 2 and 3 yard passes. My dad's sitting there watching it with me. He's like, "What are they doing?" He's like, just absolutely stupid. Fickle's time management at the end, just not great. Obviously, like we said, Jake Polesny hits the 53-yard field goal for Georgia with 3 seconds left to give Georgia the 24-21 win. Just not a pretty game. JT Daniels, the transfer from USC, had a great game for Georgia. 26 for 38, 392, a TD and a pick. In an alternate universe, and that's Justin Fields possibly in that same spot right there. He would still be the quarterback at Georgia had he not came to Columbus.
Right.
But man, just an ugly, ugly game. Georgia was 1 for 11 on third downs. Cincinnati 3 for 14 on third downs. Just not moving the ball much at all. And a little Michigan tie in there. Of course, not a great one. Former, Michigan lineman James Hudson got ejected in the first half on what was just a ridiculous targeting, late hit. Just
why in the world would he do that? Dude, he was 3 yards out of bounds and 3 seconds after the play ended.
Yeah, just
I saw that and I was like, why, dude? Why would you even do that?
That's just a thug move right there. That to me
is. It's ridiculous.
But hopefully, maybe that gives Georgia a little something to build on. Next year, they open the season in Charlotte versus Clemson. So,
that'd be a good game.
Yeah, JT Daniels, I believe he'll be back. I think he has another year. Maybe I'm wrong, but if he's back and Georgia can, start firing on all cylinders, man, maybe they can finally, push Clemson out of there. And with Lawrence leaving, Clemson ended today, obviously that he's gone, which was, just a formality because everybody knew he was heading out. But that should be a
who's the backup again?
Uiagalelei.
There we go. I just wanted to hear you say it.
I thought you did. Moving on to the Orange Bowl. Again, another game that I had high hopes for, but another game that was just completely ravaged by guys sitting out. Texas A&M wins 41-27 over UNC. Another team, A&M, I'm sure they felt slighted. They ended the year 9-1. UNC 8-4. UNC, man, I really like Sam Howell, the quarterback for UNC. He came into the game missing almost 4,000 yards of his offense.
Yep.
Both running backs were out.
Again. Yep. He's like Florida. You drop four receivers that Trask threw, however many thousand yards to. Same thing. You take an offense that loses all the yardage makers, the 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and it just cripples it.
It did, man. It really took the fun out of it. When I saw those 3 weren't playing, I just kind of turned it. I watched bits and pieces, but not much at all. Howe ended up having a pretty decent game again for playing with a bunch of guys he's not necessarily familiar with. 18 for 31, 234, 3 TDs and a pick. Kellen Mond, man, Texas A&M's quarterback, had a decent game, 232 yards passing, but he actually tied Johnny Manziel's record at A&M for 93 total touchdowns responsible for in his career with a rushing TD. So that's pretty cool, dude. 93 total touchdowns. How cool is that?
Yep. I honestly, it's really cool, but I really thought he would break it.
I did too. Yeah, I did too.
I really expected him to break Manziel's record on that.
I agree. But man, I'll tell you, think what you want about Manziel. He was really, really fun to watch in college.
Oh, absolutely.
He was really fun.
He's one of them electric players. He made things happen. I don't know if the whole college career got to his head leading into the pros, but it obviously did not. His college success did not transfer to the NFL whatsoever.
No, it seems like he's grown up a little bit. He came out not too long ago and said, man, I didn't take it seriously. I was a letdown to my teammates. I partied too much. So he knows he squandered it. I think with him, he's a kid who came from money anyway. Parents had oil money. So I think he kind of like, okay, I made it. I got whatever. It's not a big deal to me because he has, some of these guys are coming up and have nothing, trying to make that next level so they can have the things they didn't have when they were growing up. And here's a kid who was pretty much handed whatever he wanted as a child. You know what I mean? So that work ethic maybe necessarily wasn't there, but man, he was so fun to watch.
Yeah, he was. I agree.
Well, let's move on to the Final Four, man. The 2 big games, the Fiesta Bowl. I'm sorry, we have the Fiesta Bowl to talk about too. Yeah, let's talk about that. Iowa State, Oregon.
I forgot about that one, yeah.
Man, I watched all that one. Again, I tried to watch as much Matt Campbell this year as I could. Absolutely. It just cemented him at the top of my wish list for a Michigan coach, man. The game, I mean, they just ran Oregon off the field 34-17. Brock Purdy, not great stats, 20 for 29, 156 and a touchdown, but he controlled the game, man. Just controlled the game, did what he had to do. Of course, when you have Breece Hall as your running back, what a monster this kid was. 34 carries, 136 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dude ends the year 279 carries, 1,572 yards, and 21 touchdowns. Just a beast of a year.
Absolutely.
And, you know,
and like you said, I really, Matt Campbell, I haven't watched him much as far as, in the past years, but this year I tried to watch, like you did, as much as I could of him, just because of what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
For him to be at the top, not obviously the very top, but in the top, few teams of the Big 12, for having those 2 and 3 star guys and being able to develop them and get them to play together like he has and the success that he's had out there, he's just had a great career out there. And I really think he'll just continue to do better.
I do too.
And if Harbaugh was gone, who knows what's still in the cards. But if he is gone, I would have zero problem with him trying to go after Matt Campbell.
Yeah,
I think he's a great coach, and the success that he has had with the player talent that he's had has been nothing short of great.
I agree. Unfortunately, we probably miss out on him and he takes another high-profile job within the next 3 or 4 years. But I enjoy watching the guy.
I agree.
Again, this game, man, Iowa State just controlled the ball. They held the ball for 42 minutes, 48 seconds. Oregon with just 17 minutes and 12 seconds. It was Iowa State. I can't remember how many they had run. They ran almost 30-something plays to Oregon's first 4 or 5. It was crazy. Oregon kind of snuck into this bowl game. They came in, played USC in the title game out there when Washington was supposed to be in that game. Washington had to cancel because of COVID. They go out and they end up beating USC. I think USC Iowa State would have been a little bit better matchup, but just put it on them. Mario Cristobal is doing a good job out of Oregon. I think they're going to get better.
It's going to take time, and because they're not the Oregon team that they were, 5-6 years ago, where Chip Kelly was out there, and a few years back, man, they were ridiculous.
Oh, they were so fun to watch.
Yeah, the speed that they ran with, and they didn't care. They were going to throw these plays at you as fast as they could, get as many plays as they could in as short a time as they could, and just put it on you. And they did that for a long time. Obviously, this is no different Oregon team than that.
Watching Mariota back in the day, watching Jeremiah Masoli.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember Masoli or not, but they had a couple really good quarterbacks in a row out there. And just like you said, really fun to watch, especially when Chip Kelly was there. I know there's obviously some controversy the way he left. They thought there was some sanctions and stuff going to come down. And obviously we know Chip Kelly's, morally, ethically, he's kind of a little shady. But, man, he turned that program into a monster there.
That's 95% of coaching, so.
For sure. All right, man, now we'll move on to the Big Four. Talk about the Rose Bowl first, which, you see the Rose Bowl game move to Dallas, which is just odd. Not seeing a game being played at the actual Rose Bowl is just right. It's weird. First time that a Rose Bowl game hasn't been played in Pasadena since 1940 something.
I was going to say it was sometime in the 40s.
Yeah, it was. That's crazy. But that game kind of. Alabama, Notre Dame, obviously Alabama gets the 31-14 win, and I'll tell you what, that could have been 100-14, to be honest with you. Watching that game, it was completely dominated by Alabama. I felt they didn't go out of their way to show too much. I felt they didn't have to. They kept it pretty to the vest as far as the offensive play calls. Najee Harris run the ball all over him. He had that great run where he hurdled the defender, ran for about 30 or 40 yards, had 15 carries, 125 yards. Mac Jones, steady, this kid's going to be so much fun at the next level. 25 for 30, 297, 4 touchdowns. Devontae Smith, 7 catches, 130 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ian Book played decent, 27 for 39, 229, one interception, no TDs in the air. But, man, like I said, this game kind of went how we thought it would. Should Notre Dame have been there? Yeah, I mean, I think they should have. I think they got it right that they should have been in that top four based on what they did throughout the year, based on them beating Clemson. Um, I thought they should be there. If they would have put A&M in it instead of them, would I have been mad? No, either, because obviously I'm not a huge Notre Dame guy, but I felt they got it right. But I felt coming in again a 19 and a half point spread, you're like, this isn't gonna be pretty, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
Game got pretty boring pretty quickly.
Yeah, that was insane. Have a 19 and a half point spread. I mean, it was the biggest spread, since the whole playoff thing had been brought in. And I agree with you. Do I think Notre Dame should have been there? Yeah, I do. Obviously, we share the same sentiments on Notre Dame, which is pretty much hatred. But no offense, Hollis. But did they have it right? Yes, I do. I think they did. I just literally think that Alabama is that much better of a team. Like you said, they didn't show a whole lot, but they did the minimum that they needed to do to beat that team within, with ease. I think, could they have threw up more points? Absolutely. They could have threw up a lot more points, I'm sure, if they needed to, but they didn't need to. That was the thing. They went in, they handled the business that they needed to take care of, and they moved on to go to the next part. And again, 19 and a half points. They didn't cover the spread, actually.
Right.
But I have no doubt that if they could have, for sure. There's no doubt in my mind.
For sure. And, I even talked to Josh. We texted back and forth a little bit during the game and after the game. And I kind of asked him, I said, what'd you think? He said, yeah, it went about what I expected. And I said, man, I didn't think the game was close. I didn't think it was as close as the score indicated.
Exactly. What was it, 16, I think they won by?
17, 31.
Yeah. And it was 17, but it seemed like 40. I mean, it's like there was no doubt that they were going to win and that they had no problem winning.
But I'll tell you what, man, if you're a Notre Dame fan, dude, you got a lot to be proud of.
Oh, absolutely.
It's looking good for the future.
I'm not taking anything away from Notre Dame.
Right.
Simply for the fact that I don't like them. That has nothing to do with the fact that they're not a good football team right now.
Right.
So they've done a lot of good this year and in the past few years to get them to where they're at right now. And I really think they'll, as much as I don't like him, Brian Kelly's got them going in the right direction. We'll see what the future holds with them.
They actually controlled the ball a little bit better in that game. They had the ball for 7.5 minutes longer than Bama did. But Bama's defense, man, they just, my goodness, they're men amongst boys in certain areas.
They are.
Every position.
Like we always talk about next man up, and the thing with them, where a lot of teams is like the next man up is a walk on for a scholarship player, and in their case, it's a 4-star scholarship player that comes in when a 5-star scholarship player goes down.
Right.
I mean, it's just they have that luxury right now, and they've had it for a long time.
Embarrassment of riches, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, it really is.
So that's Alabama moving on. Everybody kind of expected that. Moving on to the Sugar Bowl, and I'll tell you what, man, I watched.
It was for being a Sugar Bowl. It was not sweet.
That it wasn't. I watched a quarter and a half, probably. I wasn't super interested in it anyway, but I knew we were going to be talking about it on here, so I was like, I got to watch at least a little bit of it, and then I'll go back. I DVR'd the second half. I was like, I'll buzz through and get some points to talk about. And
I know you said that you hadn't watched it.
I hadn't watched it. I honestly did not know the score until last night. I buzzed through it before I went to bed last night to write some stuff down and some stats. And I'll tell you what, dude, I'm sure Ohio State used it as fire. Dabo ranking him 11th. I still don't blame Dabo for where he ranked him. You played 6 games. You showed you belong. You showed you deserve to be there. And even I said last week that I think they're one of the 4 best teams. But did I think they deserved to be there? I didn't know. I don't know. Obviously, I think they can beat anybody. I think they can beat Alabama. But, coming out.
Oh, absolutely.
In this game, dude, they just started out. Clemson scored first, took that first lead. I thought, wow, okay, here we go. Then Ohio State scores. Then Clemson, it just kind of went back and forth.
It was back and forth, yeah.
14-14, and then the floodgates absolutely opened.
It got ugly.
It
got ugly real quick. And I tell you what, Clemson's offense looked decent at the beginning. I think both offenses looked good at the beginning. I think the big thing was that Ohio State really made some adjustments on defense, and that was the big controlling part of that game. Clemson just looked discombobulated. They looked like they were lost, completely lost at times. Lawrence would come back, make a good pass. They do they have some decent plays, but then all of a sudden they went on this stretch, and it was like, dude, did the whole team just forget how to play football? I don't know if it was play calling. I don't know if it was decision making on Lawrence's part, but they just seemed just completely out of whack.
Yeah.
And at that point, like, it was like Ohio State saw it, feasted on it, and they didn't look back.
No kid, man. They feasted all right. It was just crazy. It was a drubbing. It was a murder. It was, hide your kids, hide your wives, man. They're coming for everything.
Yeah.
That obviously a big play in that second quarter was when James Skalski gets ejected again. Got ejected last year for a targeting penalty. Gets ejected again this game. It kind of deflated Clemson's D. Kid's a good player, good hard hit, led with the head, man. You can't do that. Even though I disagree with a lot of those calls, you just can't lead with the head, man. And
you can talk targeting all day long, and you're going to have correct points and you're going to have incorrect points about it. My point is, I think it should be. Do I think it was the correct call? Absolutely. If you go by the rules, it was an absolute targeting because he led with the crown of his helmet.
Right.
My thing is, that's his own fault. Right. If he wants to lead with the crown of his helmet and make that mistake, that's on him. That shouldn't be a targeting call. That's just his stupidity. My key is, he didn't hit him in the head. He hit him in the chest, in the shoulder area. So do I think it should throw a personal foul? Throw a personal foul and give him a flag and move him down the field a little bit. Yeah, there's no need to get injected because I led with my hands in the crown of my head against someone's shoulder. I wasn't targeting the guy's head. I wasn't doing anything like that. But it is what it is. Do I think that changed the dynamic of the game? No.
No, not at all.
Because in that point, Ohio State was already well ahead and going down the correct path that they needed to go down.
Oh, absolutely. I think that just added insult to injury. You could see
exactly
more deflation.
Exactly. It deflated him even more. But according to the rules, it was the correct call.
Right. Going back to what you said, man, I think that should be a penalty. That should be a 15-yard penalty. I think there should be varying degrees of targeting. Like the James Hudson one in the Cincinnati game, he should have absolutely been tossed. That's the right call. That was egregious. The dude was out of bounds. He threw himself into him.
Yes. If you do something like that, that's just absolute. That's just ridiculous. Like what he did, or if you hit the other player in the head or neck area, I understand that as targeting, and yes, you should be ejected. But if you want to, I don't care what you hit the player with. I don't care if you hit him with his fist or whatever. If you hit the player in somewhere other than their helmet, who cares? That's just a wrong hit on your part. Are they trying to say, well, you're ejected because you're not playing the game safely? Well, whose decree is it to say who says that this is a safe hit? I understand it's not a safe hit because you obviously don't want to lower your head and possibly have injuries and all that. But that's on the player. That shouldn't have anything to do with a targeting call on another player.
Agreed. Absolutely agree.
But it is what it is. And until they change that rule, you could sit here and argue targeting, all day long and not get anywhere.
And again, like you said, it didn't change the complexion of the game. Ohio State went into half up 35-14, all the momentum in the world. But I'll tell you, Clemson came out that second half. They scored on their first drive, cut it 35-21. And to me, there was a huge play on that next possession for Ohio State. Clemson had him back. I think it was 3rd and 10. They did a little dump pass out to Trey Sermon, who bounced through a couple guys and got a first down. If they could have held him right there, they would have caused the Buckeyes to punt. And who knows? Mm-hmm. Maybe they take it down. Maybe they score. Maybe they make it 35-28. Momentum changes. Didn't happen. They couldn't stop them all night. And the Buckeyes ended up putting up 639 total yards. Clemson had a respectable, game, 444 total yards, but they were held to 44 yards rushing on 22 carries. The Buckeyes always have a great rush defense. Regardless of how their pass defense was this year,
sure.
Their rush defense is just crazy.
Did you say 600 yards?
It's 639 total yards.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I heard that correctly.
Yeah. And isn't that crazy? In the Final Four against Clemson, man. But again, they took out some aggression from the past couple seasons, and kudos to them, man, because that's a great team. It's a great coach team. They have a great staff, obviously not just Day, but Coombs and Johnson, and they have a lot of guys there who are they're fantastic. They're me
for sure.
To me, it's Alabama, Ohio State, 1A or 1A and 1B. And then everybody else, you have that Clemson and then the Notre Dames. You throw those guys a little lower, but
yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, as much as I hate to say it, and for the people who do listen, they obviously know what my feeling and your feeling are against the Buckeyes. But we may hate them, but you got to respect their program.
Absolutely,
that's the way it is.
Absolutely, man. And just going through some of the stats, it's video game numbers. Justin Fields, 22 for 28, 385 yards, 6 touchdowns. He threw one pick.
Insane.
He threw one pick, which it was a bad-looking pick, but his hand was hit during the throw into the end zone.
Right.
Trey Sermon has just exploded the last 2 weeks. 31 carries, 193 yards, and a touchdown. It's funny when you think about that. Justin Fields should be on. Should be playing for Georgia. Trey Sermon should be playing for Oklahoma. But, man, they come into Columbus and they just that wheel just keeps on spinning, man. They plug people in. I don't know how they keep doing it, but if you're a fan of them, good for you. Chris Olave comes back. What a great kid. I think this kid was a 3-star kid out of high school. 6 catches, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I actually think he may have been less than a 3-star.
Yeah, maybe.
He was at most 3-star. He was either a 2 or a 3-star. I mean, he was next to nothing, and has really made a name for himself. And kudos and congratulations to him for sticking it out and proving that stars aren't everything, because he's had a heck of a season, and I wish him the best.
On the Clemson side of the ball, man, Lawrence had a good game. 33 for 48, 400 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. But again, it was just that running game could not get off the ground. Again, Ohio State held him to 44 yards on 22 carries. Travis Etienne, 10 carries, 32 yards, a touchdown. Powell, was the leading receiver for Clemson, 8 catches, 139 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But that sets us up, man. Ohio State versus Alabama national championship game, where we're kind of wondering, now we heard rumblings yesterday of, hey, they might move the game back. And, of course, everybody's talking about, obviously non-Ohio State fans are talking about, oh, here we go again. They're kind of, they changed the rules for them to get the Big Ten title game. The rules were changed. The rules were changed as far as how long you had to sit out for COVID, from 21 days to 17 days. Now they're going to move this on him. This is going to help Fields get his ribs, healed a little bit better. Man, whatever.
Here's my thing. That's fine. If it happens on Monday like it's supposed to, then so be it. That's the way it works out. However, if they move it back and they can have 2 fully healthy teams, that way no one can say, oh, well, there's no excuses. Everyone's healthy. Everyone can play. Let the best man win.
Absolutely.
I hope that's what happens. And let it go. That way I don't have to hear, oh, well, Fields was out. Well, this person was out. Or if it was the tables were turning, it was Alabama. Well, this person was out. Well, who cares? If everyone's healthy and everyone can play, leave it at that, and let the best team win, and we'll see what happens.
Should be a heck of a game,
the
man.
Best case scenario, in my opinion.
Yeah, should be.
Because again, you come in when you play someone again, just like if obviously this year it didn't happen, but when Michigan plays Ohio State, I would rather play their best and hope to win. That way, I can say, well, we beat you with your best.
Mm-hmm.
That way, I don't have to hear, oh, well, this person was out, and that person was out, and this person was out, and that's the only reason you beat us. Yeah. Well, I don't want the excuses. I'd rather either lose with everyone healthy or win with everyone healthy.
I agree.
That way, there are no excuses. That's just that's just the way I feel about it.
Yeah, it should be a fun game. I don't think Fields is going to throw for 6 touchdowns against Alabama, but I'll tell you what, man, I'm not betting against the Buckeyes. I'm not saying they're going to win.
What's the line? Is it 9?
Alabama. Last I saw was Alabama by 8. I don't know if it changed today or not, but
that would be, man. That's a tough pick right there, honestly.
I think Ohio State's.
If you would have went, if I could have said, if you would have told me that Alabama was going to be giving Ohio State 8 before the last 2 games, I've been like, no way, dude. I'll take Alabama all day long. But now I'm like, after seeing the Buckeyes play against Clemson and what they did, that'd be tough to pick them. I mean, it really would, because I feel like Ohio State has the talent to beat Alabama. Will they? I don't know, but they do have the talent. They have the coaching staff. They very well could. So for me to say that Ohio State could very well beat Alabama straight up, it'd be hard for me to bet against Alabama to cover the spread.
The running backs are a huge key in that game, man. If Ohio State's D can stop Najee Harris, man, that's going to be tough. I don't know if anybody can stop him, but if they can keep him under control, same goes for Alabama, man. If Sermon runs wild like he has been, that just opens the field up for Fields. And dude, elite passer. Probably, if he's not the first best, he's the second best kid, quarterback coming out in the draft this year, man. And
whatever, like you said, I really think the big thing is going to be the running game. And this is my reasoning behind that. If Alabama cannot get the running game, Alabama is key on, we're going to run the ball down your throat, and then we're going to run the ball on play action, or, roll play action and pass the ball downfield. So if they can't get the play action, the running game working, then it's going to be real tough to set up that play action. And they're not really a shotgun offense, just straight up throw the ball. Yes, they can throw the ball. They've got talented receivers. But their game is run the ball and go off play action. Where on the opposite, Ohio State's they're more of a multiple and a spread type of an offense. They will obviously run the ball and try to set up play action, but do they have to? No, because they can go out of shotgun and Fields can run the ball down or run down the field, on broken plays or design QB runs, or they have that more of a multiple facet of plays and options, in my opinion, than what Alabama has. So again, coming back to what you said, the running game is really, in my opinion, what's going to set up the whole tone of the game. Ohio State can stop Alabama's running game, then that's really going to bode well for them. Where if Alabama stops Ohio State's running game, I feel like they could still throw the ball around and Fields could scramble and still have more options on offense than what Alabama does.
Nobody's consistently better at the play action in college football than Alabama. I mean, every year, they're just so good at it. And I think that, comes from obviously Saban and the NFL background that he has. Because, you see Brady. I don't mean to talk about Brady every week, but anybody, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, these guys run a lot of those play action, man, and it works. That's what works at that next level. One key for Alabama, it looks like there's a pretty good possibility that Jalen Waddle's back in time for the championship.
I saw that.
So that's a huge
Which is going to be huge. That's huge for them.
Because whenever you got to think about Devontae Smith and Waddle, oh my goodness. With a secondary that's been not great for Ohio State this year, man, Devontae's going to be hard enough, but you throw another guy in that backfield or in that secondary, That is there another guy back there in that secondary that can stop, stop both receivers? I don't know, man. I don't see that happening. But again, I'm not going to pick this game. I'm not going to say obviously Michigan guy. Oh, you should root for the Big Ten. No, that's not how it works.
It's really hard to root for the Big Ten when it's the Buckeyes playing.
When you listen and hear the stuff we do, man, it's like I can't. Yeah. Your fans ruin it for you, man. They ruin it. I can't. Any other team in the Big Ten, when I root for them, probably with the exception of Michigan State. But
yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I think it's going to be a very well played game. I can see either team winning, to be honest with you. So
I could too. I really could.
Well, we'll finish up with that with as far as the bowl games there. Let's jump into the Heisman. Obviously, the Heisman was announced the other day, and I think both of us picked, the winner, Devontae Smith, ended up running away with it. Ended up finishing first. We'll go down the order. Devontae Smith.
Well deserved.
Yeah, Devontae Smith first, Trevor Lawrence second, Mac Jones third, Kyle Trask fourth, and Najee Harris fifth. Just going back through, Devontae ended up with 856 points, 447 first place votes. Lawrence was second, 1,187 points, 222 first place votes. Mac Jones third, 1,130 points, 138 first place votes. Kyle Trask, 737 points, 61 first place votes. And Najee Harris, 216 points, 16 first place votes. And I think we kind of talked about that, how Trask had a better, statistically, Trask had a better season than both quarterbacks. And he finishes fourth, which I felt that was ridiculous. Again, the guy's playing with no running game. He's having to do all of it himself. Pitts is out for, multiple games. I don't know. If anything, Lawrence shouldn't have finished second. Mac should have finished second.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was surprised that Lawrence finished second.
Yeah, if you were going to put Trask fourth, I think, I don't know. But we kind of figured that. We kind of thought that it would be Devontae, Mac, and then Trask. But I was hoping Trask would be at least second place. But, with Devontae winning, first wide receiver, since our boy, Desmond Howard. So 1991.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat to see somebody other than a running back or a quarterback.
I was very happy to see that, honestly, because like you said, it's been obviously since '91 since an offensive player other than a quarterback or running back has won, and obviously since Woodson in '97 for a just a straight up non offensive player. But I was happy to see. I thought they got that right this year. I really did.
I did too. After watching the last few games and seeing what he's done, man, he's electric, and he's, is he a better player than Najee? I mean, Najee's a beast. But yeah, I think Devontae was he was well deserving. Fun little fact: 2017 wide receiver rankings, Devontae Smith was the number 9th ranked wide receiver and number 62 player overall that year. The number 1 ranked receiver, Donovan Peoples-Jones, number 12 overall. Crazy to see the trajectory that those two took. Peoples-Jones leaves Michigan early, goes to the draft, never really lives up to the hype that he came into Michigan for. Not necessarily all his fault.
Right. It definitely didn't live up to the hype that he was, for what he should have been at Michigan. But he overall, he goes undrafted he did get drafted. He was late round, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, he was late, but to the Browns, which it's the Browns, but you're still drafted. Be happy about that. And you know what? He's actually done very well this year.
Could you imagine having him on Clemson or Alabama or Florida and having one of those 3 guys throw to him in college? Now, I've heard.
I mean, I've seen what he was capable of at Michigan. Did he do that a lot at Michigan? No, but I saw what he could do. And for him to be put on a team where he could really excel at what he was good at, it would have been crazy.
There were rumblings when he was at Michigan that he wasn't necessarily the hardest worker. I've heard some stories about that. Whether they're true or not, I don't know. But maybe that was a reason that he kind of they didn't make him necessarily a priority. But Man, that whole recruiting class we had come in there with Tariq Black and then Nico Collins, and none of them being there this year. And Tariq just having a terrible year for Texas. He ends up declaring for the draft, but I think he had, I don't even know if he had 6 or 8 catches on the season. Just, again, the guy was a beast. Unfortunately, got hurt 2 years in a row, and then kind of just said, "Hey, I'm out of here."
It was hard to see that. Yeah, and then for him to transfer, I really thought that he would stay. But I mean, we're getting off on subject. But anyways, it's just, like you said, it was hard to watch.
Well, that's it, man. As far as football goes, we got that one game left. Let's hop into, since we're a basketball school now, man. We'll finish up with we'll finish up talking about a little Michigan basketball. How about that? How about
Dude, I have been super impressed. Like, I mean, I know it's Juwan's second year, and we obviously didn't get even a full year last year. But I obviously we love him anyway because of the Fab Five and what he's done in general with his NBA career. Great, just a great player, classy guy. But for the year and a half or so that he's been up there, he has just really, really done a great job. I think he's 28-12, I think, as of right now, maybe 29-12 after the win tonight. But I mean, just he's got these kids playing on point. He's teaching them well. They are all in with him. I love the enthusiasm that he coaches with. He is. It's like even the smallest little things, he's always looking to teach and to get these kids playing better than what they were even yesterday or this morning. It's just, I love to watch him coach, and he's done a great job. I was really impressed, especially with the two games this week. Last week I bet on the game last week. Oh, I can't remember what game it was, but they were favored by 2. Who did we play?
Was that the Maryland game?
It was the Maryland game. They were favored by 2.
Yeah,
and I was like 2 points. Yeah, I'll throw $10 on that. So I think I won I don't know, maybe 18. I mean, I didn't even double my money.
Right.
But then this past game, it was like Northwestern, and it was like we're ranked 16, they're 19, and the spread was 9.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know about that. That's awful close ranking to be 9.
Right.
And obviously, we'll go into all that, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'm very impressed with Juwan.
I'm with you.
What you've done so far.
I'm with you, man. Let's touch on that Maryland game because we didn't talk about that last week. That game was played after
Did we not? I thought we did.
No, we talked about Nebraska.
Okay.
We didn't talk about the Maryland game.
All right.
Like you said, man, we went to Maryland. Maryland's a tough team. Ended up winning 84-73. Close first half. Maryland was right there with us, 46-44 at halftime. But, dude, Hunter just continued to dominate. I think it was personal for him. Obviously, going to school right down the road.
Oh, yeah.
Maryland not really recruiting the kid. He even, if you watch that game, that's the most emotion he's shown. He even got a technical. He was talking.
I saw it, yep.
He was staring down their bench a little bit.
Yeah, he was. But I love it, though. I love that. I'll take a technical for that.
Absolutely.
That just makes that sends a message to that team.
He ended up with 26 and 11. Again, just totally dominated. Mike Smith had a great game, 16 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Franz really started stepping up, 19 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. The big bugaboo, though, with our defense has been great. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. After tonight's game, obviously, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But the big thing that's been hurting us is that 3 ball. I think during tonight's game, they said Michigan's holding opponents to upper 30% as far as 2-point shots go. So I think we're holding 39%.
Yeah, they were number 5, I think.
Yeah.
5 in the country at 34% or something like that.
Something crazy. But the 3 ball, man, and Maryland continued. Maryland went 13 for 22 from 3, which really is what kept them in that game. It seemed like they just kept throwing up everything, and it was going in. If I'm not mistaken, in that first half, weren't they 10 for 12 at one point?
Dude, I remember I texted you, and I was like, it wouldn't be too bad if Maryland wasn't. And I just threw this off the top of my head. I remember, because I looked at it, I was like, I swear they're shooting 80% from threes. And I actually looked at the half, and it was literally 80% that they should. No, it was 82% because they hit one right before halftime, and it went.
I think they were 9 for 11. They were 9 for 11 and a half.
Yeah. I was like, what the heck is going on here, man? I was like, they cannot miss. But yeah, I agree. That seems to be the one thing that's really hurting is that giving up that three. And it's not like a defense, I don't feel like, because I feel like they're playing good defenses. It's just that teams are hitting them.
That's it. They're just hitting them, man. They're getting a hand in the face on a lot of them. A lot of them are thrown up, and you're like, there's no way. And they go in. But, Michigan shot the ball from three well that night. They were 6 for 19. Not great, but not terrible. The big thing was the free throw line, man. They hit 18 to 20 free throws. Again, this is something we didn't see under Beeline because he was so much more, perimeter oriented. Now with Hunter, with Franz taking the ball to the hole more often, heck, even Mike Smith getting down there and driving the ball to the lane, man. They're getting to the free throw line, they're hitting them. That's huge. Because one thing that Michigan used to, man, when they would get to the free throw line, it's like, oh crap. I mean, they're hitting in the 50%, 60%. And finally, Beeline turned that around a little bit, and now it's almost like Juwan has just found these guys who have this natural stroke, man, and Livers is amazing from the line. He'll hit 95% or so. Franz is shooting.
Oh yeah, I think it was that day, if I remember correctly, it was the Maryland game where he had hit like 17 or 18 in a row, and even I think it may have been Dakish that was announcing that game, and he's like, oh, he's of course I in his voice, he's hit 17 straight or something like that. And then boom, he misses one.
Yeah, I think
like I don't even want to say it. And he even said it. He's like, "Oh, I think I cursed him," talking about it. And then he just goes on another streak of however many he's hit.
I think at one point in the year he had hit 42 in a row, counting back to last year.
Yeah, it was exactly. It was crazy.
But big win, man. Big win going to Maryland. Again, 84-73. Then we have a big game against, just a white-hot Northwestern team. They come into Ann Arbor ranked 19th. This is the first time Michigan and Northwestern has played in basketball where both teams have been ranked. Northwestern was sitting at 6-2. And, man, I'll tell you what. Again, it started off, first cup trading buckets back and forth. But then Michigan just went on a huge run, went into halftime up by 14, 43-29. Ended up winning 85-66, dude. It was unreal. The defense was crazy. Again, Hunter, dude, what more can you say about this kid? I've never seen a freshman come in as calm, as collected. He never gets frustrated. He never gets in a hurry. Yeah, he's made some dumb passes here and there and had some turnovers.
Oh, yeah. But who doesn't?
But my goodness, the touch this kid has. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
It is.
He's shooting 72% from the field.
Yep. And he's got that touch from the free throw line. He's got that, just that, like you said, the presence. He never seems like he doesn't get rattled. He will be, 15 feet out and shoot it with good touch. He'll be right under the basket and shoot it with good touch. He's got that nice little turn, one-handed turn and jump and throw it, bank shot. He's got unbelievable touch for a guy who's 7'1" and runs down the field or runs down the court. I'm pretty sure about as fast as I used to run down the court when I played like fourth grade basketball.
Let's not get carried away.
Yeah. He may be a little faster, but anyway, just like you said, he's for a freshman, he is playing just unbelievable. And again, that was the game, 2 points, 2-point spread. I took that and I was like, yeah, I think they can cover too.
Heck yeah.
And they turned it on. They just absolutely turned it on. And I was like, no, wait, that was the other one. This was Northwestern was the game where the spread was 9. It was 9 because it was 16 versus 19. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking at that and I was like, 9 points. I don't know. I mean, you're talking 16 at 19. That's 9 points. I don't think they can cover. So I didn't play it.
Sure.
And the next thing I know, there's 4 minutes left, and they're up 27. And I was like, what just happened here? Like, it was just a beatdown. I mean, they pulled all their starters at 4 minutes left and had people coming in. I think they still won by like 18, I think.
Yeah, 85-66, man. So, like you said.
And just fantastic game all the whole way around.
This team can just go in spurts like I've never seen. I mean, they'll go on a 14-0 run, 16-0 run, 18-0 run like it was nothing. Like, man, where is this coming from? But it's fun to watch.
I like it. It is. I like it.
And that was a big win.
They played great.
People were talking about, Michigan, they're still, they're ranked 16th, but have they really played anybody?
And that was the thing. They hadn't really played anybody yet.
Right, and they go in and just throttle this Northwestern team. They ended up having 5 guys in double figures. Livers, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Dickinson, 19 points, 3 boards, 1 assist. Eli had a great game, come out smoking, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Franz, my goodness, 14, 10, and 5. And he either had 3 or 4 blocks. I can't remember exactly.
If I remember right, he had 5 blocks.
Was it 5?
I'm almost positive because I remember them saying, I saw the stat, and it was, I think, either the whole season so far or dating back, I think it was the whole season so far. He had 6 blocks the whole season, and then he had 5 blocks in that game. It was like he was playing crazy that game.
He has really stepped up. After those first 2 games where he kind of rolled the ankle a little bit, and he was just, you even talked about it, like, man, he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's not playing at the level we expected. I'll tell you, he's really, really turned it on. And of course, our guy, Shawnee Brown, 14 points, 3 rebounds, outstanding defense. We'll get into his defense a little bit more.
If he doesn't, is in the top, the top few people for defensive player of the year, I don't know who would be.
Dude, he relishes it. You can tell he loves it. He absolutely loves it.
He does. You can see it on the court too. Just simple little things. Like I remember, I think I sent you a message. There was one, they threw the ball in, and his guy went, under the basket, and he turned and followed him. But the whole time, his arms were up and waving, like the ball was going to come over him, and he was going to be able to hit it. Well, just the mindset because most people would just turn and sprint after the guy that they're following. Absolutely. But he turns and throws his arms up and has them moving as if to intercept the pass that obviously didn't come, but could have come. He just, I don't know. I love to watch him play defense. He does it in such a way that I would hate to be an offensive player playing against him.
Terrence Williams, man, he got to play 12 minutes, so he got to play some meaningful minutes in a big-time Big Ten game. Didn't contribute really offensively, but had 6 boards. Again, I think this kid of that freshman group, man, he's the one I'm really impressed with. Obviously, he's the one who's really getting to play, but you can just tell he's a little bit above everybody else at this point. Still pretty hesitant on the offensive side. I'm not super comfortable when he tries to dribble at all, but it was good to see him get some meaningful minutes. And we talked earlier about Michigan defending the 3 and how they struggled. They actually held Northwestern to 5 for 18 from 3, and Northwestern have been stroking it. I don't know the exact percentage, but for them to
I don't either, but it was high.
For them to hold them to 5 for 18, and then Michigan on the other hand go 12 for 27, just to put that game out of reach. Shot 50% total from the field. Just a fun game. After the game, they go up to number 10. Number 10 in the polls, which is fantastic. They started at 25 on the season, won their first couple games, dropped out of the top 25.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And they've just steadily worked themselves back up. And then they had Minnesota coming in tonight. Minnesota, again, a white-hot team, playing really well, came in tonight 10-2, just beat Ohio State pretty handily a few nights ago.
I actually watched a good bit of that game. It was 77-60 or something.
I know
close to that.
Yeah, I know it was double digits.
It was at least 15 or 16 points.
But man, they came in tonight again. Minnesota held they held their own pretty early. I know the big matchup everybody was talking about was Dickinson versus Liam Robbins for Minnesota, and it wasn't close, man. Dickinson absolutely dominated that. Michigan dominated the game. They went into halftime only up 6, but in the second half outscored them 50-31. Went on a 20-0 run. Just absolutely dominated them. End up winning the game 82-57. Hunter sets a career high points. Hunter scores 20.
I was glad to see that. I was really hoping.
30,
he'd get 2 more rebounds. I was hoping he'd get 2 more boards for the double-double.
You know what, man?
That's what I was really looking for.
Everything he's done this year has been great. The only thing, if I could nitpick anything about him, I don't feel like he's aggressive enough going for rebounds. I don't know if you've noticed that too. He just kind of stands still.
Well, I mean, when you're 7'1" and have a 7-foot wingspan,
sure,
you don't really have to move a whole lot.
But if you watch a lot of the balls that come down, they get tipped out of his hands a lot. He doesn't go up. Maybe he doesn't have much of a vertical at 7'1". I'm sure that's difficult. But if you notice, he doesn't really come down with those balls. They get tipped away.
That's true.
That's the only thing I noticed. But man, 28 points, 12 for 15 from the field. Big thing for me, 4 for 4 from the free throw line. Like you said, he had 8 rebounds.
Free throws hit it, man.
The kid just continues to dominate and just impresses the heck out of me every night, man. You never know what he's going to do. Livers had a good night.
Yeah. I was going to say, just on Dickinson, I mean, he has had, I think every game he's had double digits that he's played.
Yep.
Yeah. And more so, I think he's had double-doubles in quite a few of those games. So for him to be a freshman and play with the poise and just with what he does, I'm super impressed. And his game's only going to get better.
I think he's been Big Ten Freshman of the Week 4 or 5 times.
And good chances are he'll probably get it again this year or this week. Yeah, this year because we went off too far in.
Yeah, there you go.
But I mean, and the better he plays, the better he plays in the game, the more it's going to make everyone else better, because with the Northwestern game, he was constantly double teamed.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly had 2 people on him. So even with him, and he still threw up a good bit of points.
Yeah, 19 points, man.
Yeah. And, for him to play like that, being double teamed, it's just going to make everyone else better, because it's going to give them open shots, open lanes. And I mean, I can't say enough about what he's done, to be a true freshman this year. It's great. And I hope he continues to get better.
There was one play tonight where he got the ball. He was probably about, 10 to 12 feet away from the rim. Didn't even think about anything. Just got it right in. One fluid motion, just nothing but net from 12 to 15 feet. And when you're 7'1", that's not easy to do. That ball's super tiny in your hand anyway. But man, this kid's touch, his touch is what gets me. I mean, he'll put something up, a little hook shot, a little jumper. He even tried a little, kind of like a little hook shot with his right hand tonight. Missed it short, but his touch is just absolutely amazing. And I'll tell you what, kudos to Mike Smith, man. Mike Smith finds him. He had a couple passes.
He does. I saw him.
Just tremendous. This kid with Xavier Simpson leaving, Smith coming in from Columbia, where he's taking 20 to 20, 2 or 23 shots a game, to come in to Ann Arbor and take 4 or 5 shots a game, but really control that whole offense. The way he does it, he's so under control. Turns the ball over a bit. He had 6 turnovers tonight, but another solid game, 7 points, 6 assists. I really like this kid.
I agree, and like you said, to me, for him to come from Columbia and throwing up that many shots and that many points, his game has completely flipped. He has went from I got to shoot the ball and score these points point guard to I got to control this game and set my team up for the passes that I'm going to toss to him. It's just a completely different role for him from where he was at Columbia to this year.
Right.
It's just, and he's done a heck of a job.
Embraced it and ran with it for sure. He's there to win, and it shows. Franz with another solid game, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, a couple blocks.
Yeah.
I think he had 2 more blocks.
He keeps getting better.
He does.
Like I said, the first couple games, I was iffy. I was like, man, is this guy really the guy that was thinking about going to the draft last year?
Yep, I'm
right there with you. Since then, he just continues to get better as he goes. And so, I tell you what, as much as we harp on him and we hit him hard, I will say that Brandon Johns Jr. probably gave his best minutes of the season tonight.
You were right there with me, man. I was going to talk about him a little bit.
I don't remember how many minutes he played, but he ended up with like 7 points, 4 rebounds. I mean, he was 2 for 3 from the field, 1 for 2 from the free throw. I don't think he shot any threes. Of course, he's a bigger guy, but his presence underneath and what he did by far was his best game this year.
He played well, had a couple blocks. Early on when he came in, man, when he gets the ball and he starts to dribble, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because he still like presses and he rushes too much. But I'll tell you, he tonight, like you said, best game of the year. looked really well, came in, gave some really important minutes. Obviously, with Austin Davis out, but also Eli Brooks got hurt tonight. And lost a tooth.
He did. Oh, yeah, I saw that. That was terrible. So did you actually like slow mo it when you saw it and see the tooth?
I did not.
If you go back, and right after that, they show it. They show like 2 or 3 different camera angles, and the one from behind him, you can actually see his elbow go up, and it hits, and then the next, if you're looking at the blue M, you can actually see the white tooth come across the blue M.
Oh man, daggone.
Yeah, I was like, ooh. Dang. I was like, yeah.
There was a couple plays I did, slow mo, and one of them was a breakaway dunk for Livers when he took about 14 steps.
I did see that. It was at least 14, and it was funny is I saw that and I was like, yeah, that was a travel, and I rewound it, and I was like, yeah, that's still a travel.
Dude, it was unbelievable. I think he took at least 6 steps. I'm like, how is that not called? Whatever. But they don't call it at the next level either. But again,
yeah, they don't. One thing I was going to say with Johns, just real quick, because we were bragging on him.
Sure.
The one thing I really saw tonight that was different to me, tonight's game was different with him in it, because it seems though in the past few games, when he comes in, it's because Dickinson goes out.
Mm-hmm.
He's his relief.
Right.
There was quite a few minutes tonight's game that Dickinson was in and Johns was in. And I really think that was a huge difference, because he didn't have to focus on being the big guy.
Totally agree.
He was able to, instead of being underneath and playing the center, playing the 5, he was able to go out and play the 4. And do, it's like it opened up his game. And I really think that may have been the change in, the way he played tonight and what he did, as opposed to what he's done in the past few games.
Again, man,
my opinion.
100% agree. I like having both of them on the floor together. And I'll tell you what, a guy that needs to be on the floor more, he played 21 minutes tonight, but Sean D. Brown, dude, every game, he's quickly becoming my favorite player on this team. I mean, he's unreal. He's everywhere. He had 2 big steals tonight. One was kind of, I can't remember who the guard was at the time, but they were kind of, the 2 guards were battling, and Sean D came out of nowhere, goes and grabs the ball before it goes out of bounds, goes in and dunks. And just, he's everywhere, dude. He's so fun to watch. Some days
there was another play where he came across half court.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a throw. It may have been the one you're talking about. But he came in, the defender, Minnesota's guy was just kind of jogging after it, and the next thing you know, like there's Sean D right beside him, and then boom, just goes right in for the dunk.
Was that
the one you're talking about?
Yeah, what I'm talking about, man. Amazing.
He just hustles all the time.
Yeah, you can tell he's taking that role, and he knows, hey, I'm the defensive guy on this team, and you watch him, and he just frustrates the heck out of the offensive.
He does.
Offensive player.
He does, and I love it. Just I love to see that hustle and that intensity. And like you said, with him being one of your favorites, tonight's starting lineup was Brooks, Smith, Dickinson, Wagner, and Livers. If I had any change, and I'm not taking anything away from Brooks, but I would draw. He would be my come off the bench first, but I would put Brown in there. I would have Dickinson underneath with Wagner, Livers, and Sean D, out on the edge, and Smith up top.
I agree with you.
That would be my starters right there.
It's a different game defensively when he's in there. And, kudos to the whole team defensively, man. The whole team is playing out of their minds. Franz is getting over there. Mike Smith's getting up in it. Even, like you said, even John tonight with those couple of blocks, I thought the defense looked absolutely tremendous. Going back to Sean D for a minute.
They did. They even talked about that on tonight's game. Quite a few times. They even said, this team is just absolutely playing ridiculous defense.
Like I said, going back to Sean D for just a minute, you look at his stat line, 5 points, 2 of 6 from the field, 1 rebound, no assists, no steals, no blocks. You're like, wow. But then you watch the game and you realize, man, he did so much for the team tonight.
He does.
Just unreal. Not that stat filler.
There's so much that he does that you cannot put. Don't equivalent. I think I just made up a word.
I think equivalent's not a word, but I like it.
Yeah. It just does not.
Doesn't equate.
Where I was born with that word. It doesn't equate. Yeah. It just, you can't put stats on that hustle and the presence that he brings on the defense, on the court. You can't put stats on that.
Agreed, man. And we held a second straight opponent to a pretty poor 3-point percentage. Minnesota shot 28 threes, only made 7 of them. Obviously, that's 25%. The biggest thing for me was Michigan only shot 13 threes.
Only hit 4, which is still 31%. That's not terrible, but they're higher.
Used to in the Beeline era, they would have 13 threes in the first 13 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, they would just roll down and chuck up a 3. No questions asked.
Just played out of their minds. They shot 57% from the field.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The 57%, that was huge. And then the second half, man. I remember, and I'm kind of mad. Not really mad. I only lost $10. But halftime, Minnesota came on that run there at the end. And I can't remember, it was 8-0 maybe to end or 6-0, 8-0 to end the half. Ended up the half was like 32-26. I'm like, that's only 6 points. So I looked at the betting thing, and it was like 9.5 points. I was like, man, Minnesota's actually, they're playing decent. They just had this big run. They're getting 9.5. I was like, I'm going to put $10 on Minnesota because I think they're playing good, and I've never been more happy to lose $10 in my life.
Right?
Because they came out. I think at one point Michigan outscored them in the second half with 33-8.
33-8, yeah.
It was just ridiculous. They came out on fire and just didn't look back.
Yeah, you couple that, a 20-0 run, man, and the game gets away from you pretty quickly. Their largest lead of the night was 37. Obviously, they pulled the starters with a couple minutes to go, and I wanted to see that 30-point win, but
25, we'll take it.
Get those guys in. You knew when they brought Zeb in, he was going to get a couple shots up, and he had three shots taken in 8 minutes. Finally hit one. So had a couple points. Nunez had a nice little bank shot that went in. Again,
it was good to see.
It's good to see all those guys.
I'm glad to see them players get in. I'm glad to see that they can get up high enough, with a good enough lead to where they can put the players in. Because basketball is a pretty intense sport, really kind of stressful. Like, it's funny because Christina, she's like, I can't watch basketball. Like, she just can't. She can't watch high school basketball. She can't hardly. Yeah, she gets so stressed out because it's so fast paced and so like close. You know what I mean? In certain times that she just can't hardly watch it. It's just funny to see, but.
So, like, her biggest fear would be a basketball game with everybody dressed up as Michael Myers.
That would probably kill her. To be quite honest.
Oh man, that's so funny. But dude, this is
funny because she does. She can't hardly handle basketball, and it's I like it because of the intensity of it.
Sure,
that closeness. But
I tried to watch a little bit of the NBA the other night, and man, I'd rather slam my testicles in a car door.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, absolutely
brutal. It is brutal.
I watched a little bit.
No one plays defense. When you can throw up 140 points in a game, there's no defense there. I know the quarters are 3 minutes longer, so there's an extra 12 minutes of the game, but it's just.
I watched Dallas because Hardaway and Burke are there, and I like to see what they're doing. And I watched Luka a little bit, but man, Luka just shoots the ball every time he touches it. Even though I watched it, and he's like shot, and then they tell his stats, and he's got a triple double. I'm like, well, good lord, passes somewhere.
No kidding.
But watching, it was them versus the Rockets. Every time the Rockets would come down, James Harden just stands outside the 3-point line waiting for the ball. There's no movement. It's just brutal, man. It's not the same.
I don't like to watch it.
It's not the same game as it used to be. But touching on the Big
Ten, so much more exciting college.
Oh, college, so much more. Touching back on the Big Ten, man. Michigan goes to 10-0, 5-0 in the conference. They're sitting there, number one. Illinois right behind them, 4-1 in the conference, followed by the Hawkeyes at 3-1, and the Badgers at 3-1. But the Big Ten just continues to.
Dude,
they're tough, man. It's
a tough conference.
The best conference in basketball.
Yeah, they talked about that on the game tonight, on the game the other night. That's all. When you look at the overall top 25. I mean, you've got 7 Big Ten teams in the top 25.
Wow.
I mean, you've got Iowa sitting at 5, Wisconsin at 8, Michigan now at 10, Illinois at 12, Rutgers at 15, Minnesota at 16, and Michigan State at 23. I mean, that's impressive for all the especially in basketball, when you've got all these Butlers and Gonzagas and Dayton and all these teams that are always really good and have great records, but they for the Big Ten to have 7 teams in the top 25, that's impressive.
Absolutely, man. Coming up, man, we have, Penn State game was canceled for this Saturday. So the next game is going to be versus Wisconsin on Tuesday. That'll be an ESPN game. Wisconsin's ranked number 8, like you said, man. It's
that's going to be a tough game.
I think
Where's it at?
That's in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think Michigan will be, ranked even better. I think they'll probably be top 7 or 8 after that, demolishing of Minnesota tonight. But it's going to be interesting. We got some big games coming up. Obviously we got to go to Northwestern here pretty soon. Michigan State's still tough, man. They're going to be tough to beat. That game coming up.
They're always a tough game, no matter what they're ranked or their record is. It's just a tough game. I mean, Izzo's a great coach. I hate him,
yeah.
But if he's a good coach, yeah.
I agree, but it's a fun team, man. I told Dad tonight. I said, man, I don't know what's going on, but this team is good. I've been hesitant to say this is a top team, but dude, watching them week in, week out, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I'm like, this team has something special. This is a team that, barring injuries, if nobody gets hurt, they keep playing like this. There's no reason they can't be a 1 or 2 seed, man, and go in with a lot of hype into the tournament.
Yep, I know. But when the season first started, when we were first talking about it, it was like we said there seemed to be a good team that they can score, they do a lot of things right. Do we think they're going to win the Big Ten? Probably not. Do we think they're one of the top teams in the Big Ten? Probably not. Now, it seems Juwan's got them playing good. They seem to believe that they can do it, and with what they've done so far, I have no doubt if they continue to play well that they couldn't win the Big Ten. Yes, there's going to be some hurdles. I mean, you're talking you've got to go across Iowa and Wisconsin and some Illinois and Michigan State. You've got to get past these teams, but they could do it. I have no doubt in my mind that they couldn't do it. It's just they just got to get it done.
I'm with you, man. It's been fun to watch. It's not, anytime a team can start 10-0, man, that's super cool. And I'm anxious to see how the season plays out. I'm going to enjoy it because obviously we're probably not going to see Smith or Sean D. Brown again. Dickinson, who knows?
No. That's the one thing I wish. Seeing Smith and Sean D. this year, I would love to have them for at least another 1 to 2 years. Obviously, we ain't going to happen, but. They would be, I love watching them, what I can so far this year.
Yeah, definitely enjoy it because next year's going to be a completely different team. But
it is. It really is. I was looking at that the other day, and there's 4 seniors. Obviously, Franz is a junior, and playing the odds, if he has a great season, he'll be gone. Yeah. So you're talking 5 of your top players are going to be gone.
Right.
And it's going to, like you said, it's going to be a completely different team.
Well, man, good show. We'll wrap up the football season hopefully next week if the game's played. If not, the week after. But yeah. So anything else you want to add? I will say there's off topic as far as sports go. I don't know what's going on in this country right now, man, and I'm not going to get political about anything. But anybody listening to this, just be nice to everybody. Be nice to each other, man. This is getting to a point where this is absolutely ridiculous what we're doing, what our leaders, quote unquote leaders, are doing right now from both sides. Republicans, you're acting like idiots. Liberals, you're acting like idiots. How about you guys start working together and work for us? Work to help the country out instead of working to fight with each other.
You couldn't say that any better right there.
It's brutal. It's obviously we talk about these games, and these games are fun. They help take our mind off of the stupid stuff that's going on with this virus. And shout out to all those people, who are obviously continuing to battle that and try to get this vaccine out to everybody. I actually took the first dose today.
I got mine on the 30th.
I kind of debated for a while. I'm like, man, I would love to see more research. But we don't have that luxury right now, man. People are dying. I know there's a lot of conspiracy theorists. There's people on my Facebook page of government ain't doing that to me, and all this is come on, guys. I mean, I'm seeing people dying. I'm treating patients. I'm in the rooms with these patients who have COVID. I'm in the rooms, seeing people who have recovered from it, going in the next day. Hey, this patient's not here anymore. What happened to him? Well, they passed away from COVID. This isn't something that's fake. The government's not trying to control you. They're trying to, I'm pretty leery of the government in general anyway. But again, not to get political about it, I think this vaccine is going to be a good thing. I hope everybody that needs it will take it. I would advise my parents to take it. Obviously, they're 65. They're in that age of, they're both in great health, obviously. But if this is something that can help, man, I know we can't get people to wear masks. And I'm not saying if you don't want to wear a mask for your safety, that's fine. But think about the people who might be wherever you're going, or, just put a mask on. I don't want to wear one. I have to wear one for 8 hours a day. I don't want to do that, but I do it just because it might save somebody's life.
Yep, I'm right there with you, man. Being in the medical field, obviously we both are. I'm the same thing. I wear a mask all day long, even when I'm not around because I'm inside of a hospital. I have to. I'm seeing patients. I'm doing cases. At Walmart. I'm wherever, but I wear my mask because I feel like it's the right thing to do. I got my shot on the 30th. It's just I felt like it was the right thing to do. And it's just a tough situation because, like you said, there's not a lot of studies with it. There's a lot of studies on the coronavirus itself, not necessarily the strand of COVID-19, because that's the other thing that people always say, oh, well, they haven't had a chance to study it. It's only they just started. No, they haven't. They've been studying coronavirus for quite some time. It's just this strand is a little different.
Right.
And so, it's a little different on trying to make a vaccine and all that. I just, again, coming from healthcare backfield, all that background, all that, just wear your mask and do what you can to help protect yourself, protect your family, protect anybody, and just do your part. And as far as politics go, I don't do politics. I'm never a big fan of talking politics. In my opinion, Sammy said it best. Politics, religion, and her. That's just where I go. I don't discuss politics because I don't feel like I need to or want to be quite honest, because you can talk politics all day long and get nowhere. And in my opinion, the only thing it's going to do is probably create a fight.
Yeah, and that's sad. It's sad you can't have civil discussions because one group is offended by it, or one group, oh, you're picking on me. Just, dude, be adults. Sit down and talk about, why do you believe in this? Why do you believe in that? And then guess what?
It's funny because people don't understand that you can't. It's like nowadays people think you can't just disagree and leave it at that.
Oh, no, not at all.
No, it's like you can't disagree and just go on with your life like normal.
Right.
Well, if someone's offended, so it's like there has to be repercussions.
Sure. I mean, there's every day on Twitter, every day on Facebook, I read posts from people who are good friends that I consider good friends that I'm going, what? Like,
I completely agree. I see it all day long.
You don't even know what's going on. You're not even informed. If you're informed about it, study it, learn it, listen to what's going on. Don't listen to Fox News. Don't listen to CNN. Get in there and dig around. Do your research about whatever you want to know about, and then form an opinion about it. Keep that opinion to yourself. Like,
I'm right there with you, man.
Don't or put your opinion out there, but don't blast me or don't blast your neighbor for disagreeing with with what you believe. It's just, I talked to Parsons, I talked to Peterson about this stuff, man, and it's like, be adults. Just be adults. That's one thing. Again, politics is it's one of those subjects where unfortunately you lose friends. It's like, really, we've been friends for how long, and we're gonna stop being friends because of this? But I'll tell you what, there's some people, again, who just continually shove their narrative down. Oh, well, see, here, this is what happened. I knew this is what was going to happen. Well, a couple months ago or a couple weeks ago when this side did this, you weren't saying the same thing. It's like you can't just believe what you want to believe, but keep it to yourself. I really don't care to hear it. I don't want to hear your opinions. I don't care. Honestly, I hate to say that, but I don't care. It's like
I know. I'm right there with you because I see people's posts on Facebook all day long, and I'm like, you know what? I've been friends with you for years, and I'm talking like since the time I was under 10 years old.
Sure.
And I see these posts, and I'm like, well, I completely disagree with you, but being an adult, I don't put my opinion out there and start a fight and start a battle between who's right and who's wrong. Because to be quite honest, it doesn't matter who's right and who's wrong, and who knows who's right and who's wrong. Because in the end, there's no change that we can do anyway when it comes to that. So have your opinion, and back up your opinion if you need to with facts, but don't let your opinion or your beliefs come within your friendships or the bond that you have of someone of 20, 30 years over something that, be quite honest, you can't change anyway.
Yeah. I can't watch the news. I'm not a big fan of the news anymore anyway. You turn it on, it's all doom and gloom stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And here's the thing, like, who does it matter who won the presidency? It may for some people in their opinion, but is it really going to matter? Because you can't change it. You can't change what's coming. So just embrace it and deal with it.
My favorite dude is not my president. You're wrong.
Oh, yeah. You're wrong. If you're living in this country, yeah, he's your president.
When it was Trump,
sorry.
When it was Trump, all the all the liberals, not my president. Yeah, it is. And now the Biden, all the right wingers, not my president. Yeah, it is. I mean, you're yes, it is. Like, shut up.
Yep. I'm still a U.S. citizen, so whoever the president is my president, and there's nothing I can do to change that.
Why can't we get back to a point where we respect? I think it starts. We have to get people in the office that we can respect.
That's the problem. That's the problem. Yeah, people don't respect anybody anymore or anything, and that's the problem.
But man, I could go on rants. That's a whole podcast. Exactly. If this was a private conversation, we would talk about things. And I didn't mean to get off on a soapbox and just rant.
No, you're good, but I completely agree. You couldn't have said it any better. Just live life for what it is right now. Enjoy it, for what you have. Be nice to everyone. Be respectful to your friends and your neighbor and your loved ones. And just, you can't change the presidency. You can't change that kind of stuff. If you voted, then you did your part, and there's nothing more you can do.
Exactly.
So be just, to quote my wife, be nice. Like, if nothing else, be nice. That's all we ask.
It's not hard. It's not hard to be nice to people, man. And again,
and you could even go, like, to quote my wife and Dalton on Patrick Swayze on Roadhouse. So take it the way you want to go. Either way. Sorry, I had to throw my Roadhouse comment in there. It's just.
I mean, if I'm cool with that. Had you went Dirty Dancing at all, this podcast would be over. This tape would have been burnt. This would have never heard the light of day. I prefer Point Break. Point Break's my jam, but.
Oh yeah, I mean, I just went there because it was the Be Nice, and that's a direct quote from Roadhouse. So yeah. Anyway,
well, let's end it there, man. Let's end it there. Everybody, be nice to everybody. Everybody who's listening, we appreciate it.
For sure.
Thanks for listening. Obviously, we've went through a whole football season, and this is kind of our first time getting our feet wet doing this together. Hopefully, this is something we'll continue to do throughout throughout the years. I enjoy it. I like getting on here and doing it. So hopefully, we can continue to build up a little bit bigger fan base and come up with different segments and get. I've reached out to certain people, and I want to try to get people to come on as guests and things like that. But that's not as easy as it looks.
Yeah, I agree.
So hopefully in the future we'll be able to do that. But anyway, we'll be back again next week. Until next week, go Blue.
Go Blue.
And be nice to each other.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, that was this week's show. Again, Bub and I want to thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it. It's been fun getting on here and talking about college football. Obviously, we have one more game to talk about. Next time this comes out, we'll either have some happy Alabama fans or some happy Ohio State fans. I think regardless, each team should be proud of their, or each fan base, excuse me, should be proud of their teams. Again, I think these are the two best teams in college football. So, they're playing for the title, deservedly so. These guys are just head and shoulders above the rest. I think Clemson's right there, just a little step behind this year. But Ohio State and Alabama, as much as it pains me to say it, obviously as a diehard Michigan fan, kudos to the Buckeyes. I'm not going to take anything away from them. They're doing their thing, man. You guys should be proud of them, and it should be fun. Again, we'll get back on here next week. We'll discuss the national championship game, and we'll kind of segue into some more, maybe some recruiting news. We had early signing period just a couple weeks ago that we haven't discussed yet. So maybe we'll get on there and talk about Ohio State's recruiting class. We'll talk about Michigan's recruiting class and the rest of the Big Ten. But again, Bub and I want to thank you guys for listening. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. And we'll see you next week on the 27th episode of Brent Ewing's Hey Buddy podcast.